What is up? Welcome to Paramotor, Our Paramotor Nation, everyone. I am the incredible, sexy, real Anthony Vella. Welcome. I have with us today Captain Anthony Vella.
Captain Anthony Vella.
How you doing, Captain Anthony Vella?
Training across 50 states anytime. I'll train you, your family, your neighbors.
Whoa. Oh, that's deep. That's going deep. I've got Anthony freaking Vella. What's up, Anthony freaking Vella? I got two Anthony. We got two Anthony freaking Vellas.
Got two freaking Anthony Vellas. Get it right. Now I'll tell you what. I'll make you a deal over here. I got it all. I got it all.
All right, Anthony freaking Vella. How are you, ma'am?
We are doing fantastic here. It
cool.
Is raining and not flyable, so.
Well, that's too bad that El Paso's having that rainy, unflyable weather out there, Anthony freaking Vella. And we also have this other guy, Scooter Anthony Vella. Anthony Vella, hello, Anthony Vella. How are you?
I just go by Scooter for short. Thank you.
Oh, sounds good. Thank you, Scooter. Thank you. And that's is that your home?
Yeah.
Is that your home? You're sitting in front of your home?
Yeah, El
Well,
Paso got a lot of rain recently, so that's why we got some greenery going on behind us right now.
Well, we appreciate you being here. And
Yeah, no
definitely
problem.
the sexiest looking panel ever on YouTube. There you go.
Yeah, I agree.
So, welcome to Our Paramotor Nation. It's just me. I'm really David Wolf, not really Anthony Vella. Surprise. Hey guys, want to first of all thank our sponsors and our Patreons for helping out with the show. You saw them there on the intro video, and I'll just briefly mention them now. That's Fly My PPG, I Fly Indiana, Pigeon Paramotor, Clearwater Pools, and you may have seen Para Orange as well. Para Orange products, Larry and the Bag Lady, thank you guys. Anthony, hold that head up again. Say something there, Anthony.
Oh, best dang organization in the world.
You're holding up a Resurgence PPG hat there. Your green screen's going in and out there. There it is, though. And and 2 episodes ago, if you remember, we had, was it 2 episodes ago? I don't remember. We had Kyle and Travis on, and Travis was talking about his T-shirt that says "Shut up, Todd," and I said, "I'm going to get one." And there it is.
Shut up, Todd.
But it's not a hateful shirt because right here, look at that. There's the Resurgence PPG logo. It's a Resurgence PPG shirt. Guys, go to Resurgence PPG. Help out our favorite philanthropy, whatever you want to call them. Anthony Vella's got something to say about them too.
Oh, yeah.
Todd. Everybody's got something to say about Todd.
So handsome.
He is a handsome fella.
Those eyes, man. He's got the dreamy eyes. Those blue eyes. Yeah.
He cuddles. He also cuddles. So
he's a spooner.
Verified. We got photos to prove it. Yeah.
So one thing we started doing in the last couple episodes for our Patreons is to go ahead and put out the video of the after shows because we get a little bit goofy on the after show. Well, Anthony sends me a message about an hour and a half ago, says, "Hey, is it okay if we go on right now just to test out the microphone?" Now, we've had about 22 other guests. Anthony is holding a $1,000 microphone. We have never had anybody had more issues getting their audio synced up than Anthony Vella.
It's the worst.
How do you explain that?
Can I have your autograph?
So
It's the trailer, man. It's the trailer. It's all the aluminum is making interference. You're not getting
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So for the last hour and a half, it's kind of been a warm-up show because normally where we get giddy and the after show, I really wish I just taped the first hour and a half because it was absolutely hysterical and just goofball. Just goofball. Anthony, how are you today, sir?
I'm
Not that I haven't been talking for the last hour and a half, but how are you?
Great. I just got back from California, had an awesome little paramotor adventure out there. It was my first time getting to actually fly in my hometown, which was like long overdue. It was like one of the first things I wanted to be able to do when I finally like completed my training. So was able to go back there with Leandra. We had an awesome time, came back, and it's my son's birthday today. So we went to iFly and figured I need to be strapped to a glider. I can't cruise around in the sky by myself, man.
That's awesome. Well, happy birthday, your son.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
So
happy birthday to your son.
You just mentioned Leandra. That's the very first question that everybody wants to know is where the heck is she, man?
Damn it, I'm out of here. She is fixing dinner right now back in the trailer over here on the left. That's our new one. It actually comes with a burner top. So she's fixing some mac and cheese.
So Rick, Rick told us earlier why you were really on the show. Go ahead, Rick. Why don't you tell him again?
Well, we talked about that earlier, but I wanted to bring back to the last Anthony Vella video. Why were you wearing Leandra's shorts when you were flying? I mean, it looked really good, but why?
Well, she buys me my shorts. It's kind of pathetic. No, actually, so when you're flying paramotors, as you know, we have access to that breeze, unlike other lesser forms of flying. So the shorts really allows for adequate airflow. It's a great experience.
Very good. Very good. I respect that. Thank you.
Leandra ordered me even shorter shorts since that video, but
we will look forward to that next video.
Stay tuned.
Yeah,
Don't let Rick fool you. He's actually wearing some shorts right now.
He's not wearing any shorts right now.
Rick, would you stand up? Can you stand up for everybody? No, he won't stand up.
No, not live. Not on live. I can't.
Yeah.
My wife forbid me. No, sit down.
That's funny.
So if you don't know who Anthony Vella is, welcome to the world of paramotors. You're the only one. So Anthony, here's the thing about you, Anthony, and this is why I was excited to get you on here. You've been flying now for about 14 months, right?
Yeah, about that.
And so Anthony is was a vet and was discharged. He got hurt, his back. Always wanted to fly, and I'm kind of recapping here because Robert Michaels does a great interview and interviewed Anthony. If you want to learn more about Anthony, you can go to Robert's YouTube channel and you can see the replay of that. Always wanted to fly. Obviously, couldn't fly because of his medical discharge. Correct?
Yeah.
Reached out to our friend Todd Scandrett, the great Todd Scandrett, Resurgence PPG, and now he's flying paramotors and takes the world by storm. And if you could say, hey, if you could look at the last 12 or 14 months and pick one person out and call that person the rookie of the year in paramotoring, outside of David Wolf, I would say it's probably Anthony Vella. I'm kidding. No, I don't even come close. I don't come close. Anthony, what you have done in this sport in the last year is just remarkable. There's people that really stand out. There's obviously McDonald's flying Tucker Gott. There's Kyle O. There's Woody and Mark, and throw Elena in there too. And then, you can go down the list of a couple others, and there's obviously got to be, and Dave Ruff, of course, Dave Ruff. And I mean, I should have said Dave first. I'm sorry, Dave. I apologize. And then Anthony, you come onto the scene and you start doing this paramotor thing, and you got your hair flowing in the wind. Yes. And, so you start flying, you get this passion for this flying, you start doing it. But really what took over was this whole podcast and these YouTube videos. And you've seen my comments, and it's very, very humbling to watch yours, because I've said these comments in the past, by far and away, and I'm sorry, Rick, by far and away, the best produced quality videos of anybody. How did you decide, okay, I really want to do this whole pod? I know you've got we'll talk about your background in videos, but how did you decide, I really think I could do this podcast thing? And where did this whole podcast and these videos develop from?
Ah, man. Well, the podcast was definitely like secondary to the videos. The podcast, I really have to thank a guy named Brian Pearson in our sport, because I knew nothing. I knew nothing about podcasting. I had like a pretty good grasp on videos, and hopefully somebody who may be interested in podcasting would take notes. But these things are easily accessible, and I felt perhaps as though I had a slightly different or against the grain opinion in certain matters when it came to paramotoring, as well as the fact that there absolutely had been some podcasts in the past. I know Jeff Goen had started some, and the way I saw it is, like, I'd love to see the sport grow. This sport is incredible. There, as you may know, like in the world of motocross, there was a huge boom, but it didn't happen until much later after the fact, and it came through a phase of rebellion to some extent. And don't mistake me, like I'm not even close to suggesting be reckless with a paramotor. That would be like the opposite of what I would want to create. However, I think having a shift in the way something is presented, and maybe
sorry about that. Sorry.
No worries. Oh yeah.
You're good now. My bad.
Right. So I felt as though there was room to present something in maybe a voice for those who may be intimidated. Of course, it's not just myself on the Paramotor podcast. We've got Clint Schmallis, Thomas Bird, Brian Pearson does help out. He helped me really set it up. And oh God, I'm hopefully not leaving anybody out. And Mitchell Graham, who's in prison still, but he should be out of prison soon, we hope.
Free Mitch G.
Free Mitch. We're going to get shirts that say that. But yeah, no. It was absolutely like, hopefully a catalyst in presenting the sport to those who may not be on YouTube. I know a lot of people ingest their media through podcasting. And I think the difference is this: YouTube is fantastic for entertainment purposes. Kylo Glee does do a fantastic job. with an educational purpose.
Mhm.
I think there's a difference in having a podcast like yours here on Paramotor Nation, or with Robert Michaels and Paragliding Talk. I think when people are talking, you're opening a dialogue, and to understand the sport, it's cool. Yes, it's absolutely awesome when people can see a video. That's why I also like to do videos. But with a podcast, words are spoken, and it's like the sharing of thoughts. And I really like that aspect of podcasting. And so, and it was not going to be restrained. Okay. One little historical fact about the podcast was that I wanted to, honestly, being transparent, I really wanted to get some sort of support to be able to do a podcast. And I wanted a business to hopefully support me in the sport so that I could afford to do a podcast like this. And one of them was like, okay, but only talk about our product. And I said, no, like I can't. It has to be unbiased. Like it has to be unbiased so that people can make a decision of their own. That's why we've had people like Gilo Cardozo and Miroslav Savek with Scout. I mean, these are two competitive brands. But obviously I fly a Parajet Maverick, but to be able to, we want to have Blackhawk. And regardless of how somebody feels about a brand, it's nice to know that you could potentially have all of those who may not see eye to eye, but give them the floor so people can make up an informed decision of their own.
And
Bravo.
Anthony, when you talk about the different forms of media, I love the podcast because when I'm at work, I'm driving in my truck, I can put it on. I can't watch a YouTube video while I'm driving around.
You shouldn't. There are people who do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it is. It's fun. It is.
You'd started off flying pretty aggressive, would you say? Okay.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I believe someone, and you know who, and I'll say who it is. Someone called you out and called you a maverick, didn't he? Woody?
Oh, did he call me a maverick? He definitely.
So. Well, this actually, and I'm going to credit Mike Cotter, because Mike Cotter and I were talking about some questions to ask you prior to the show tonight. Right. So he called you. He said you're flying above your skill level, correct?
Something along those lines.
Yeah, it had to do with your spirals. I remember.
Yeah, well, he wasn't alone.
Asymmetric spirals only is
I think I'm paraphrasing here, but he said paraphrasing. Get it? Paraphrasing. He said, if like something along the lines of, I think if somebody were to die, my bet's that you'll die. And
I think Mike said Mike said that you'll be the next person to have an accident. Does that sound familiar?
Fair enough. So that is one of the reasons, like having the podcast. I do want to make sure I don't close that last thought on that note. I freaking love Woody, and I actually ingested what his comment was and thought to myself, am I being bold? Like, am I really being too bold? And I'm glad he asked it so I could confirm, no, I got it. No, actually, that's absolutely not what I thought. I thought, holy crap. There are so many individuals who are wise in this sport. The truth is it doesn't necessarily change the type of, you can't force somebody to change the type of flying they want to do. Like, I like flying low. I like flying, turning low and stuff like that. But there were some things that I could change that would significantly reduce or mitigate the risk of having one of those injuries that have unfortunately been popping up in the sport. I do attribute the change largely and due to what Woody's suggestion was. I think it was, he just was the only one that really had courage to tell me to my face.
Woody will tell you how it is, won't he?
Very good.
Yeah, very, very direct. And I mean, I respect it. I love it when somebody can offer constructive criticism, not just to bash you. There's a lot of bashing that happens in paramotoring. It is what it is. But I think Woody has the best intentions.
I think your YouTube channel and your brand took off because of a comment that Woody made. I remember I was watching Robert Michaels' show, and Woody had recognized you on the show, and I think you were in the chat going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said like it's such a great show." Do you remember that? And right from there, like everybody in the world went to your YouTube and subscribed.
Oh, it
started it for you.
It is. It's super nice. Like, I don't know.
Look at you. You're blushing. Look at him. Oh,
Stop. Yeah. No, it is. It's super kind. And yeah, on that note, like my flying style, as I was saying, is low. I do have perhaps a different opinion on the sport. I referenced the world of motocross earlier, and I've ridden motorcycles my whole life, and I think to some extent you can predict a crash on a paramotor, and I don't think it's wrong of me to be willing to accept a crash to a certain extent. So, like if I'm flying, for example, 10 feet above the ground, and I'm turning, sharp, and there's a chance that my wingtip may catch on something. I am my own personal choice, I am willing to accept breaking a leg, because God forbid you go to a motocross track and tell them, no more going off of jumps. No, you can't do that. You can't race on the track because you're going to break a bone. Like that's an acceptable risk. That's an acceptable risk if somebody's willing to accept that risk. In my opinion,
say risk versus reward. It's very simple. It's right there.
Right. And I think where Woody's concern is like it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to hear, what's happened, where a spiral recently resulted, what it was believed to have resulted in a fatality within the sport. It's eye-opening. Really educated, super informed individuals like Jeff Goen. I hope I say his name right. Jeff Goen.
My God, man, you interviewed him. You should know his name.
That was part of the podcast. It was
one of my favorite interviews of yours, by the way.
He's so well spoken,
So
super
smart.
cool guy.
Jeff is going to be on next week right here. Nicole's going to be interviewing him.
Right. Quick preview of my son's birthday Lego he just assembled. All right, now make your way back out to dinner. I think ultimately it comes down to that risk and reward, and it's a matter of like if somebody's not going to kill themselves, like I wouldn't support or be an advocate of that by any means. Then if something has the potential to really kill them, then somebody should step in. If somebody could get hurt, I think it's and they're well aware of it, then they should have the right to fly how they want to fly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I will tell you this. I want to say this about Woody. I wasn't planning on saying this, but Woody had a video came out, and I just this last video. Thanks for coming back. Was that that was the trailer door you were shutting?
The trailer door. They're squeaky.
So Robert actually mentioned this on Thursday night. Woody's video that just came out where he had to throw 2 reserves, and Woody's a great pilot. We got to see him fly at Bad Apples. He's unbelievable what he can do, and the humbleness in his voice and the humbleness in his words were profound. And he actually, and I put this in my comment, that I was preparing to say a lot of things. My mother-in-law's funeral was this past Saturday. It was 2 days ago, and I was preparing to say a lot of words. And really, the only thing I ended up saying was something that he said in his video, which was, the saying is you only live once. And he said, that's not true. It's you only die once. We live every day to the fullest, with whatever you're doing.
Right. Yeah.
So,
no, makes a lot of sense.
Here's a Woody story also. So, and it's, you mentioned this when you were talking with Elena, that it's such our Paramotor Nation is a very tight knit community, and you're 1 degree away from knowing everybody, right? So pretty much
it's a tight knit community. You're right.
It's very tight knit. So like when Elena was Kevin Bacon, but only 1 degree.
Right.
Well, like when Elena was talking about how she was standing around there and everybody was standing around taking pictures, I was watching Rick Davies take pictures of her and everybody else taking pictures. We were all right there. But so I was sitting with Todd one afternoon in the Resurgence PPG tent. You had to pay a high premium to get in there, but I got in there. Rick wasn't allowed in, but I was sitting there, and Woody came in and to introduce myself to him for the first time, and he was talking to some other people, and so I was having my own conversation with Todd, and I said, so Todd, what do you've watched a couple of the episodes now for our for Paramotor Nation, and what do you think we can do better as a group to make the show better? And without a second, Woody turns around, he goes, "Get microphones like Anthony Vella. Your sound quality is terrible."
No, these are problematic. No, that's
So there
funny.
you go. There you go. So you start doing these videos. When you go up to it to do a video, okay? Because there's all of us that are sitting on this panel do videos. Some of us do 4 or 5 videos a day, Dave. And hold on.
And some of us are total slackers.
It's almost time for another.
Like a lot of life changes.
Actually, I got one.
Right.
I've got one on auto release, not tomorrow, but the day after.
Dave has already launched 2 videos since we started this broadcast.
Right.
3, sir. 3. Keep with it.
3.
So, sometimes, the other day I just went up and I turned my camera on because knowing me, I might hit a tree or have a motor out. So I might as well have my camera rolling. But it was nice. I landed and I thought, you know what? I don't think I have any. It was a great flight. I was stressed out when I went up. I had some issues going on and I just flew and had no reason to make a video today. When you go up and you make these videos, do you go up with an idea of, hey, I want to make a video and I'm going to talk about this and this is what's going to be the foundation of this video?
Yeah. I mean, before the show started, I'd mentioned like on the podcast, like how there were individuals who we've got these full recordings and they never aired. And it's because just me personally, I overanalyze. It's totally unnecessary. It's unhealthy. But when it comes to videos, yeah, I do definitely go into it with a mindset. And I think like the fact of the matter is my YouTube channel relative to the YouTube community is not that big. I try to strategize, I guess, to some extent. I definitely strongly consider what may be interesting to other individuals. And it's malleable. Like the ideas of what I want to film change frequently, but ultimately, I don't want to just simply bring the camera up there. I know that there's a lot of people, like I do get messages like frequently just saying, wow, just film a random flight and put it up. But that's not usually the case. Like I've got a laundry list of videos that I want to do in the near future. And I think the difference is like logistically, it's challenging to bring a lot of stuff, videography equipment with you. And it's not just when you're trying to share. Part of what I think is so interesting in the paramotoring community is it's not just the paramotoring. I think there's like a lifestyle that comes along with it. Like it's transformative. We're not just simply flying paramotors and no, I mean, we talk about it. We live and breathe paramotors. And so like my intent is to usually capture that. And I want to like the problem is I become more and more methodical in the process, and that just delays things even more. But I'd like to share the lifestyle of paramotoring, like how accessible this form of flying is. I told you I like ultralights in that, but it will never be as easy as, putting a paramotor in the back of your truck and just going to a park and taking off, or just spontaneous flights and things like that, or checking the weather. We've got, can I give away like an upcoming video just so you can understand the process of
whatever you want? It's your show.
Please do, Anthony. Tell us.
So, as you may know, there's an individual that is part of the Paramotor podcast named Thomas Bird. He's El Paso's lead meteorologist, and it's like really
he's
cool.
so dreamy. He's a lucky man.
Oh yeah. So Tom, the meteorology station is at the airport. When it comes to making a video for me, it's like usually there's some idea of what we would want to do, or what I want to do. And so I in the future, the plan is myself, Clint Chamales, who's also on the Paramotor podcast, and Thomas Bird are all going to fly to the meteorology station and then just go inside and do a with all the recording gear, to include this stupid microphone. And you won't see it in that one, of course, because it's like the video production side of things. But to actually ask a ton of weather-related questions pertaining to glider sports or ultralights, or sports that are more heavily affected by the weather. And so, I mean, it'll be fun, but definitely the videos are thought out. But there's no against videos that are just like send it videos.
Okay.
I have a question. Anthony, have you ever flown into a tree?
I flew into a cactus.
Oh, ow.
Yeah, but I haven't flown into a tree because they're hard to come by in El Paso.
Okay.
Dave Wolf has.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I mean, it's nothing compared to what Elena just went through.
Oh,
And you
I
can
know.
hear all about that on on his podcast there.
Oh, wild.
What's going on with Vella Productions?
Vella Productions. Oh man, like the actual business side of video production.
So you were doing wedding videos? Is this what Mike had mentioned to me? Correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, not wedding videos, but actually like real estate videography.
Real estate. I'm sorry, real estate. That's right.
But I mean, I had also done like on the Instagram channel or Instagram page, I'd used to photograph like headshots and like modeling photos, and that's just like my name, Anthony K. Vella. But I really don't use that as often now. I just go to the Paramotor Podcast Instagram page. But no, I mean, that's kind of how I got my start in video production. And I mean, there's so many. It's funny, like referencing one of Tucker's earlier videos where he made light of the fact that so many people who get into paramotoring end up like finishing training and then like putting a GoPro on their head, and then they're instantaneously a vlogger the next day.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing against that, and I think it's attributed to much of the growth in the sport. I think if people imagine that video production that is harder than it actually is, I don't think that's the case. I think it's easier. Everything I've ever learned from video production has just been like putting my hands on a camera or just watching YouTube videos. And same thing with the podcast. After Brian Pearson gave me like a really well thought out like introduction to podcasting, any sort of question you have as far as like, I don't know, like masking something out so you can have two of yourself flying in one screen.
Right.
There's an answer to that on YouTube. And it's called YouTube University. You just go to the search bar and look up what you want to do. It's not actually called YouTube University, but it's its nickname.
I got you. What about any thoughts? I mean, like I said, production-wise, phenomenal. Any thoughts of ever doing a video? I mean, I'm talking like a real
like a documentary.
Film. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Interestingly, so like I do keep in touch. Like I love it because you mentioned how close knit this community is, and I feel really fortunate because I have like a relationship with Jeff Goyne, and
good, you got his name right.
Yes, a score one for the home team. Yeah, no, being able to like bounce ideas off of him, as goofy as I am, like is out there, manic, whatever, call it what you want. I really, really, really would like to film something of more significance in the sport. Like I do think some of the podcast episodes are insightful. I think when it comes to video, like that's the end goal for me. Like the end goal is to produce something that maybe could be in a film festival. And I have to say, like Ryan Southwell's truly like the best videographer in paramotoring.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he's if I was to film a documentary, I think it would want to not just be like beautiful landscapes, but kind of something that makes you think about paramotoring. Having like my medical examination revoked from the FAA was honestly like the most soul crushing thing. Like losing friends in combat. I served as a combat medic, and the thought of that's devastating in and of itself. And then when I came home, like I wanted to finish flight school, something that I had started when I was younger, and I have like this really conflicting feeling, and I don't feel as though it's fair. I feel fortunate at the same time that Part 103 exists. But it all goes to say, like, as far as a documentary goes, like I would be up for a fight. I mean, I'm not really a fighter, but I would be up for a fight if it came to like helping other people be able to gain access to the air in ways that are just fair. Like, I mean, if I want to go and learn how to fly a small sports, get my sports pilot's license, which I can't do, I want to be able to do that, but I can't. And I think there's going to be some interesting content, whether it comes out in the form of a documentary or not. But we'll see. We'll see.
Question one again. Where is Leandra?
Hey, baby, where are you at?
I did see Kyle's comment a while back saying, "Okay, I'm only here for her."
Hey, but he said that he would deal with me. You know, like he would deal with me.
Yeah. Hey, no, I'm sorry. Let me hold for 2 seconds. I'm gonna holler at her and she'll come.
I was told Leandra was going to be here, so
yeah, I know, right?
He went.
Hey, Rick, you don't want to appear too eager.
He disappeared into the trailer park again.
I guess we could answer one question, which was, does she have a sister? Her sister is dating someone.
Yeah, currently unavailable. That's the status.
Currently unavailable.
Yes.
Hey, Anthony, I've got that $20. You're gonna, it's all no, right?
You cut out. I don't know what was said.
There, Dave. I don't know.
I was gonna say, we've got $20, so you'll let us all know, when she becomes available.
Yes.
Leandra's sister.
To the highest bidder,
Yeah.
20, 50, PayPal.
And if Leandra ever becomes available, are you willing to let that information out?
I am.
Fair. That's fair.
I'd let her go to a good home, just like any dog I truly love. Whoa! That was.
Whoa!
Wow.
Wow!
No, that came out so wrong.
This is recorded. Wow.
No.
And maybe sooner than later, boys.
We're gonna see a pan come out from that background and hit him right in the head.
Let's get back to
Freaking
content a
YouTube,
little
man.
bit.
Freaking live streams.
Anthony, your YouTube content is, I look forward to it. If I see an Anthony Vella video, I'm going to watch it. You're like right there with Ryan Southwell, or maybe better, dude. I don't know.
I'm so ashamed of how that came out.
I agree. I used to feel that about Rick. I used to feel that way about Rick's videos, but yeah, yours are right. Hey, I do want to go back though, because you had said you made a comment earlier, and I think the chat just blew up. And anybody that's watching the chat on the panel can chime in here. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's all right. It was in regards. I think the comment you made. Hey, look, if I go down and break a leg, it's worth it. Okay.
Right.
And I think they really got a lot. There's three different. I believe, in my own opinion, there's three different types of pilots. There's acro pilots. There's
I can fly.
There's pilots that just will fly and enjoy the view, and then there's somewhere in the middle that may do a little sharper turn, but that's enough for me. That's probably where I fall right now. Right. My opinion is that just like Woody or Kyle Mooney, okay, these people, you've got some real talent, and you're still growing. I'm sure you would admit you got a long way to grow to get to where you probably want to be. Okay, maybe not.
No, so it's quite the opposite, honestly. Like I feel like I become much more timid as a pilot, paramotorist as I fly. So I think I don't know, like I don't want to die. Like that chime of what Woody said sticks with me, and it's a good thing. It's maybe the angel on your shoulder that keeps me in check. But I really do believe that it's somebody's own like personal right. If you are out in the middle of nowhere and you've got things in place that can help you get to a hospital if you need to tend to that like cut or that broken leg or arm, whatever it may be. But I mean, part of you may enjoy flying high. You may enjoy just cruising along for an evening flight. And don't get me wrong, the truth about my flying is so like as I fly now. When I flew originally, I think it's also important to note. I know I'm going all over the place, but I am probably one of the most fearful, like full of fear pilots in paramotoring. I never fly in windy conditions. There will be times where Clint Chamales and Thomas Bird go flying, and I keep my butt planted on the ground, and I'll have a great time just watching. when I do go fly, I fly low because I know that there's nil wind, which is my favorite kind of wind condition. Some people like a good headwind to get them up in the air. Thankfully, my legs still carry me and my glider up, for the launch. But once I'm in the air, like a nil wind situation is predictable. And I think people may assume that Anthony Vella just goes in the air and whips the paramotor around, but that's just not the case. Like so many things go through my mind as before I do a maneuver and as I'm doing a maneuver. And so when people do chime in, there's so many people who will like chime in. I do the live streams, but the truth is like I'm really calculating it. And I think certain individuals, like understandably, we are not all made the same, right? We're not all equal. There are some people who will think much faster than me. One of them being Mitchell Graham, who is the one in prison. But when he flies, he's able to read the terrain so quickly, much faster than I am. But that being said, I know that I read the terrain faster than some of the other folks do. And it's not as though you need to read the terrain very quickly. However, it is that if you don't read the terrain quickly, then don't fly very close to the ground. It's as simple as that. There are people who can read it fast enough to stay safe. And there are those who just need to know themselves and stay within their own personal safety margins.
Anthony, this was actually said earlier in the comments. I don't know if it was covered or not. I don't think it was. There's a big difference in risk assessment in somebody that is prior military like yourself. By the way, thank you for your service. I'm prior military myself.
Thank you.
And somebody that's not. And there's also a big difference between somebody that's willing to go out there and test the limits slowly and work to them, as compared to just go out there and just, yank on this brake to see what's going to happen. The way that I see your flying, now I've never seen you fly, in person. I had the chance about 2 months ago. I'll have another chance here this spring. But the way that I see your flying and stuff, you're out there, you're having fun, but I personally in your flying haven't seen anything over the top yet. But I will say this, you're 14 months in and you're going to start getting into that intermediate syndrome where you're going to want to push those limits. And the best advice that anybody's going to give you is go out and seek the training, civ class, or, get up high and try those maneuvers, which, I'm sure you do. But the bottom line that I'm trying to say here is I love the passion. When I tune into one of your lives or I see one of your videos, how many times I've ever listened to podcasts driving through the night at night, this thing, the passion that you have behind it is amazing. Just make sure that you don't push those limits. And if you're taking that training, you're taking that time to get up there slowly, you're good, bud. Do what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Appreciate it.
The only thing that I'd like to add is that Chris Santacroce put out a video. I don't know if it was yesterday, the day before, or might have been today. I did put the link in the chat. So if you scroll up, you can get to that link. He talked a lot about the incidents and the fatalities that we've had this summer and how to deal with that death, how to also kind of keep that out of your own experience. And the way that he talked about the mindset of the pilot and himself being a Red Bull pilot for 13 years, what makes that incredible is that, if I am not mistaken, and I would love to be wrong about this, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, he is the only pilot that has retired from Red Bull. All the rest have not survived to the end of their contracts. So that being said, the amount of experience that he has, I just feel like we need to really pay attention whenever he speaks. I think that that's a great video. But I also agree that, everybody's idea of risk and reward is completely differently. We just have to remember that even if your risk or my risk or Dave or David's risk and Rick, although I don't know where he went to, even if that risk is different, it still affects the entire community. I mean, if you look at the individuals that suffered losses this summer, it didn't matter what part of the world they were in. It didn't matter what their experience level was. It didn't matter what type of flying that they did. It affected all of us, not just them and their immediate family. So it's something that we all have to be aware of.
Right.
Just my 2 cents.
No, it's appreciated. It is, and I agree. Like it definitely does. I'm one who, like, I mean, when I found out of Lydia's passing, like it weighed just super heavily on my mind. I know, like, I don't know, I probably mentioned it to Leandra like multiple times the next week, just saying like, oh man, it's like I don't know her. Like I don't know her. I like the closest was she followed the Paramotor podcast, and but really no actual conversation with her. I mean, I was an admirer of her in her like extreme skill, which doesn't really do justice to how good of a pilot she was. But no, I mean, it's true. And yeah, if anybody passes in the sport, it does, it makes a huge wake. And it doesn't go away quickly. Never goes away, really.
No.
Yeah. I want to say that your answer was fantastic, Anthony, on that difficult question. I think a lot of people look at these YouTube videos, you and Tucker, or if you're seeing, and again, I'll say Kyle Mooney, you're seeing these, and Woody, and these amazing pilots, and there's a lot of words that can be said. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be more safe. They should be better advocates. And I get that. But like you said, there's different skill levels and people are built differently. I couldn't imagine Kyle Mooney go out there and just being a cross-country pilot, or Woody being a recreational pilot. And he said this in his video. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have paramotors and wasn't able to do some of this acro. So, you do your skill set. I think, we all should be advocates of safety. And, I always felt that whenever someone puts a video out there like that, there should be a little hashtag or a little comment that says, don't try this at home unless you've been properly trained.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. Training is like super important. I think that the lessons taught, I think a realistic expressing the importance to any student would be like just one of the most important parts of training, to keep one's self in check, is super important.
Yeah. I do want to pause for just a second here in the interview, because I know I saw some comments, and I apologize for everybody that did come in late to the show. Originally, this was going to be on Phoenix in Flight YouTube channel. We did make a last-minute change to put it on the Paramotor Crazy YouTube channel. Please make sure that you're going into Phoenix in Flight, Paramotor Crazy, Trike Flyer, and PPG Gorilla, into all 4 YouTube channels, not only subscribing, but hitting the bell. So as soon as someone does go live, that you'll be notified, or a new video comes out, you'll be notified. You'll be able to go in, because it makes it real easy to have 4 different people to host the show. Then in case something does come up, family always first for everybody, that we still have a show that goes on. So that's one of the reasons, the main reasons that we did that. But that's how you can make sure. And always, as soon as the show goes live, I do post the link into both Paramotor, Our Paramotor Nation, as well as the Paramotor Facebook pages. So, but please make sure that if you didn't see it, go back, watch the beginning of the video, and see everything, because this has been a lot of fun. I mean, we just got real serious here too, but it's been a lot of fun. Also, one of the new things I'll start doing is making sure that wherever the whoever's channel this came out of, we'll go ahead and post the link and post the video up onto the Facebook Our Paramotor Nation Facebook page. So make sure you're also becoming a member of Our Paramotor Nation on Facebook. Dave, do you have a question?
Yeah, I sure do. Kind of changing the subject here. One of the things that I really admire about your flying, I try to watch every time that you go live, Anthony. Love that live takeoff. In fact, I tried duplicating that about 2 weeks ago. It didn't work out so well.
Oh
Um,
no.
you're in El Paso. You're very near the border, and I've heard you talk about that in
Yeah.
videos like that. Tell us what that's like. I mean, have you ever come across, anything weird? What are the officers doing as you're coming by with a paramotor? I mean, can you cross the border and then cross back in? Tell us about that.
Yeah, actually, when Kylo Glee came out to El Paso, that was like on his mission list was to head out to the border. Um, as far as flying near the border of Mexico, the guys there are super kind. Like the Border Patrol agents are. At first, I was worried. I was like, "Are they going to have problems, like thinking I'm smuggling something across the border?" But that's not the case. They're really down to earth individuals who are fascinated by paramotors, and in fact, they've said, if you have any problems or if you have to land out, like here's our number, we'll come pick you up.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they're super nice. Yeah, really
Cool.
nice guys. You could fly over the border according to some. I wouldn't do it because I haven't read enough literature that would support that. I think what it is the Border Patrol agents wouldn't care. Like they've seen paramotors go across. I know that local paramotorists or whatever have spoken with them about it and they didn't have concerns. But once again, like I am more timid than people think. And if I think that I could be in trouble for it, I just won't do it.
I'd be more worried about an engine out on that side of the fence and having to do a land out in Mexico. I mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
what happens then?
Oh God, I don't know. I'd cry for my mommy. I don't know. It's a rough part. Like in all reality, across the El Paso, this is gonna sound odd, considering current events, but El Paso really is a very safe city in America.
Oh, it's been listed like number one. I mean, I've seen the reports.
Right.
That's because everybody's armed.
Well,
Texas.
You would think that, and I would agree for most of Texas, but El Paso is not like the rest of the state. It's not. In fact, I think I'm not a political individual, but it does side on the liberal side as opposed to the majority of the state, which is right of center. Anywho's, but yeah, recently, of course, we had that horrible shooting here in El Paso. But if I was to land out in Mexico, I would be very concerned for my well-being. Like Ciudad Juarez has formerly been known as the murder capital of the world. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's multiple reasons why I wouldn't fly over the border. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the landscape's beautiful. I do a lot of flying in Arizona and New Mexico.
Right.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in your area, but
Uh-huh.
man, it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's real pretty.
Starting to get a couple questions in here on the chat. Dave Zimmerman would like to know when you fixing your hoop.
Oh, David Zimmerman. Oh, great guy. And he recently got his new Maverick. I'm excited for him. As far
Never mind. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Why don't you go ahead and sit down?
Okay, Dave, well, you can go eat your dinner now. We're all
Here, let
good.
me-
Thanks for joining us, Dave.
All right, it's great being on. Here's Leandra now again. You can talk to her when I'm finished with this question. Now, as far as David Zimmerman's question goes, I'd love to fix it. I'd love to fix it soon, but the reality is it functions perfectly well. And as far as aesthetics go, I don't care too much. But hopefully soon. I mean, if a new hoop spar, not a spar, but a hoop piece lands on my doorstep, should I turn off my background so that
It could be
Leandra
cool.
doesn't
That'd
go,
be good. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead and turn it off.
she doesn't go in and out? There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay.
We're back in the studio. Wait a minute. You have a green screen right behind you. Why didn't you just turn your camera?
I don't know. I told you my mind works in mysterious ways. If a new hoop piece landed on my front doorstep, yeah, I'd put it on. But and realistically, it's a fairly affordable cost. I think not a plug for Parajet, but the parts are relatively affordable considering the cost of some of the other parts on the market. But yeah, hopefully soon.
Kathy Bailey also, I'm going to ask her a question too, since she asked it. She wants to know if you're mostly flying the Atom 80 now.
Am I mostly flying the Atom 80? No, I like the Atom 80. The downside is for anybody who's like been considering like an Atom 80, regardless of the frame. If somebody's so you're considering an Atom 80.
No, it should have been here 2 weeks ago, but go ahead. That's another story.
So if somebody's considering the difference between a Monster 185, Moster 185, however you pronounce it, or an Atom 80, that's what I call it.
Moster Goin.
One exhaust doesn't break, the other one does. Oh,
hey, but I think that's been improved. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. If Viterazzi has completely fixed that. I haven't had any issues. I do have a new exhaust on mine.
I'm considering a 185, and I won't until that exhaust gets fixed.
I mean, it's a legitimate concern. I mean, it really is, and I think thankfully the manufacturers have now recognized that. But let's let future tell, and I think we'll be impressed with the results. But as far as the Atom 80 goes, do I fly it all the time? No, I really don't. I did for a period of time, and I do occasionally. They are night and day differences. There's, in spite of them being both produced by Viterazzi, the fact is that they are so different. And I love them both. I really do. However, if you're planning on flying aggressively and you weigh in excess of 160 pounds, you will be better off on a Moster 185 or a motor that has that thrust available for climb outs or decreasing your rate of descent spontaneously as well. Like it cannot just be like a slow onset. Like the spool up time of the Atom 80 is much slower than that of the Moster 185. And when you fly aggressively or the flying style that I do, like once again, I'm like calculating in my mind, my proximity to the ground. And I base that on the motor on my back. If I was to attempt the same things on the Atom 80, there are some situations I probably wouldn't pull out of. So when I do have the Atom 80 on my back, it's not to say that I always fly aggressively. That's not the case. I'm just flying. I'm cruising at that point, just enjoying it. Yeah.
So this is a good question to lead into having Leandra on. But Blake Pridgeon wants to know, how did Anthony score such a babe? He doesn't even comb his hair. There we go. She can't hear us, can she?
She can't. How did I score such a babe? Like I don't even comb my hair.
Love you more for it.
Yeah. So actually right now, if you go to meetmylatinowife.com, they have a 2-for-1 special. I didn't need 2. Like I'm not.
Oh boy.
I wonder where Gorilla just went.
Wow.
He jumped on the website. No, actually, did you guys know I did meet Leandra flying my paramotor?
Yeah.
Like,
tell us the story.
Tell the story.
Here,
wow.
you want her to tell it?
Give her half a headset or something?
Yeah, I can totally get her a headset.
All right.
Here, but you jump over here.
Okay.
Oh, I unplugged it.
We can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Cool.
Hey there.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. So hello everyone. Hi Nicole. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I
So
know,
cool.
right?
I know. I like follow your stuff on Facebook religiously, and it's so cool to like have a conversation with you. That's awesome.
Leandra, I just want to say, Leandra, I just want to say that I'm a super big fan of yours. The Anthony guy, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Who's
whatever.
Anthony?
No. Oh no.
How you doing?
I'm super good. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're still recording. I felt kind of bad for her. Like, I'm gonna come back, and it was like a decade later. But anyway, I heard him kind of. Go ahead.
Oh Jesus. Anthony's
What is he doing
behind
me? Oh gosh.
So you got to meet Elena not too long ago.
I
and hung out with her.
did.
That's cool.
Elena, even on videos, is just such a cool gal, and like
She's a very sweet girl. I got to meet her, and she's a very, very cool, down to earth young lady.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You can start up a conversation that'll last hours with that girl. She's super, super cool.
Is it really weird dating someone that's so shy?
Shy is like the last word I'd use to describe
All right.
him.
So he was just going to start telling us how you guys met through him flying a paramotor. And we heard, in the interview with Elena, at the very tail end of the interview, you came on and you said, yeah, he's been my inspiration to becoming a paramotor pilot. So tell us how you guys met.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I had never even heard of paramotoring before Anthony. I get that belly out of here. I was I'm glad you think he's funny. That's great. Just kidding. No, I think he's the funniest person alive. I was driving my nephew to school and I saw him flying over the interstate. It's a very it's a busy interstate, but not in that area. But yeah, so I had already been following him, stage 5 clinger. And I had already been following him on Instagram and stuff because he's a photographer, a videographer. I really liked his stuff. And I told my nephew was like blown away. And I was like, I think I know what that is. So I just DM'd him and I was like, hey, totally saw you this morning. He was like, that was totally me. And just months went by and we just kept in touch here and there. And yeah, what are you doing? I'm looking at you and I don't see what's happening behind me.
Oh, it's all right. Don't
but yeah, and then just we kept in touch a little here and there, and then we finally met, and that's kind of it.
So how did this whole I'm going to start flying thing, I mean, was he trying to coax you into, hey, why don't you give this a try? And
No. I would just go out to the Anthony's airfield is what we call it. I would go out there with
the backyard. or is it the park down the street?
It's the park down the street, but there's nothing at this park. It's just a field. So there's not even a playground, nothing. So yeah, we used to hang out there and I would watch him kite. And one day he was like, do you want to try? I was like, sure. Right. And then I
used the shady tactic because I knew she had a nephew. And I was like, oh, you want me to show your nephew how to fly a paramotor? And
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
And it worked because we met without my nephew. But yeah, so I started kiting with him and it was actually a lot of fun. And he was like, you're a natural. And I was like, you're just saying that. And then, but then little by little I started doing, and I felt I grew a lot of confidence in doing that. And then he was like, would you ever want to fly? And I was like, sure, let's do it. And yeah, and then I went out to Austin and trained with Lone Star and then just did it.
And then Mr. Oglee came by and gave you a couple pointers too.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, Kyle's so cool. I think that's one of this is just I know you hear it all the time, but I'm new to the community, right? Because I didn't even know what paramotoring was. But the community is great. Really good support and guidance, and Kylo was really good, as far as he was out there kiting with me, giving me tips and stuff. And there was a point in time where the glider just pulled me all across the field, and it was hilarious. It wasn't scary because both of them were there. I had these two experts who I could rely on, but I was being tossed around. It was bad, but it was fun regardless.
That's awesome. How about the video? How much fun was that to do that video? How did that come about?
Which video? The one with my Adam. Oh, the music video. Yeah, that was cool. So Anthony just knows a guy here locally who's also a videographer. And so he was like, do you want to be in a music video? He told him. And then he was like, yeah, well, and they said, do you know a girl? He was like, yeah, maybe. And I was like, yeah, you do. And so I was kind of hesitant, honestly. Because I was just like, no, I don't really know how I feel about that. And then they were like, it's going to be so cool. It's going to be with paramotors. It's going to just be us doing things we love to do, like the dirt bike and bike riding. And so I was like, all right, let's do it. And I'm so glad we did it because I think it was, there's a huge population that doesn't know about paramotoring. And I mean, here locally, there's a really small group that does it. But that was really great exposure for the sport too. Especially in the area, since people just see them, but they don't really know what they do.
Except so many people commented on her hair. Oh my God, her hair's not up. It's shut up. It's a music video.
You think I'm really flying? By the way, shout out to Clint Chamales. He was my stunt double flying.
Oh, you're not supposed to tell him that.
Why not? I wasn't flying. There's no way I was flying.
Was Clint wearing a wig when he was flying?
No, it's just the videography was that good. No, he was like way up. The flying, it was, I don't know if you've seen the video, but
Oh, I have. I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks. Yeah, but no, it was really far away. You couldn't see details of the flyers or anything like that.
I got to tell you something. What's going on in the chat right now? Because Fly Swamper just put a comment in there, and I've been watching the chat. I'm like, nothing's happening. I wonder if anybody's even still watching this video. And he's like, anybody notice that the chat went relatively silent? Yeah, you started talking like nobody was even looking at the chat. Everybody was just watching you talk.
That, and we also picked up about 7 more watchers.
7 more watchers. Nice. That's, is this like he uses me for clickbait all the time.
Okay, no kidding.
So my husband is watching this show right from the other room, and I just heard him completely lose it. So whatever we just said, and he's reading now or watching now, he's dying laughing in there.
Oh, that's funny.
So
Leandra, tell us about your first solo. I've seen the video. Well, at least I think I've seen the video of that first solo, but tell us about it.
Well, so there's this
video interruption.
Stop. So my first attempt was a failed attempt, and he was live on Facebook, and his phone died. Thank goodness, because that would have just hurt my person a lot more. But I ended up breaking the propeller because I sat down too fast. So when I finally made it out in the air, when we were out in what beach was it, baby? It was in Galveston, one of the beaches out there.
Yeah, you're down in Galveston.
Yeah, and so we're out there, and I just want to get off the ground because at this point I'm like, don't sit down, don't sit down. And so when I finally made it up, oh my gosh, that was the best feeling ever, because it was like, finally you did it. You didn't break something trying to do this. And so then I went up, and there's just so much that you're just like on overload. Like, you're like, this is so exciting. And they're like, just keep climbing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the first time I've ever, been in the air like that and where I'm in control. So it was definitely foreign and definitely intimidating. But yeah, I was like kind of intimidated by the water too, because I'm not from anywhere that there's water, accessible. So I was just nervous about that. And regardless, I was, making my rounds, and then we were, fixing to land. And I knew that I wanted to kind of land already, but I was like, oh man, can I, like, when am I going to do this? Like, what's the right timing and stuff? And I don't know. You've seen the video. I like fell on my knees. Well,
we all go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I fell on my knees, and then like the glider and oh gosh, it was just kind of not the best tourist experience.
Choked her out.
Yeah, it was like, and then the wind, and I was like freaking out. So
well, aside from the getting choked out, that was a completely normal landing. So
you're like, I land like that every day. No, but it was so much fun, and it's cool when you are up there and you're confident, because I had a couple of moments of that. In fact, I felt turbulence. There was really not, I don't know that it was like a really solid day to fly. Like the weather wasn't, I don't know. I just don't think it was bumpy. Yeah, it really was. And that didn't really scare me though. Like that wasn't it. I think it was just more of I'm up here and I'm like the way I'm going to get down.
It's a system overload. I mean,
yeah,
it's just it's a total mental, physical, everything overload.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so since then, when that was the only flight I got out there in training, because the weather just wouldn't let up. Then I came back home and did it a handful of times, and both, not clean landings at all. And it became more stressful for me, I think. So I was like, oh, I just want to land these like on my feet. And I haven't yet. I don't have a.
It'll come. Well, and the reason why I'm asking you all this is because now everybody wants to know is, are you going to continue? What are we expecting from you here?
Oh yeah, no, and it's funny because I told Anthony, like, I think time flies. I don't even know how long ago it was, maybe a little over a month. And I told him I want to do it again. And then I talked to people like Elena, and they're just so supportive, and they're like, just, if it feels right, do it. If it doesn't, don't. But I think you should just at least try. And so I think hearing of other people's testimony, and, like you're saying, that's a common way to land. I think that really makes me feel a lot more confident trying again. I just think, oh.
Well, anybody that tells you that, they haven't landed on their rear or, on their legs and stuff like that, at least once or twice, especially beginning, has something to sell. I mean, it just happens. It's timing. So the good news for you is I have something special for you. I want you to meet Nicole, Phoenix in Flight. Phoenix in Flight, meet Leandra. Hey, Nicole, get her.
Hi, Nicole.
So, Leandra, the thing about landing on your feet is that sometimes a lot of things have to come together in order to make that happen, like perfectly. So have you thought about flying a trike just to get your flair and your timing just perfect?
I haven't even thought of that, honestly. No, I hadn't considered it.
The only reason why I'm saying that is because I mean, like, and it's too bad that Rick's not on here because trikes are really sexy. As you know, like my own unit, I can go from foot launch to trike in 2 pins. So nice. It's the same motor, you know, and it's the same cage, prop, everything. And I just put it on, my trike wheels. But what that has allowed me to do, number one, it's required me to be a better kiter and to learn the wing a lot more, because it's actually more difficult. It's more technical to launch it. Okay. But when you're coming in to land, it kind of takes all of that away. So, you know, you're not worrying about falling down. You're not worrying about, you know, how fast am I coming in? Am I flaring right? And it just allows you to do the takeoff and the landing, you know, the approach without that feeling of trepidation inside. And, you know, that can really help you if you're, I mean, if you would be open to that just to get your flare timing right. The other thing is that if you guys like hiking, if you guys like doing any type of, or wanted to do any type of paracamping, you can get bigger wheels than I have. Like I have what's called the racing wheels. So they're small. They're like bicycle tires and almost between a mountain bike and a road tire. They're very, very thin.
Okay.
So you would have to get a bigger, wider tire. But I mean, you could take camping equipment. You could take water, food. I mean, like if you guys like going and camping and those kind of things, and you know the weather's going to be great going out and coming back. I mean, you could stay the night somewhere and fly back the next morning. I mean, that really does open up the possibilities as far as being able to carry more weight. And, you know, I fly a 125. So I fly the PAP Safari 125. I don't fly the Atom 80, but.
Have you flown the Atom 80 before?
I have not. No. I have not, but I would like to. I would really like to try it. And I was going to, Chris Santa Croce had one while we were there in Utah, and we were going to go fly motors. And it just turned out that particular day was going to be a little bit too much for motor and just right for free flight. So
got it.
I just, you know, I had to do the free flight thing.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking that might give you an opportunity, or anyone an opportunity, to do the launch, do the landing, and not have to worry about breaking yourself or your equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that. I think the biggest intimidation factor for landing is, for me, is like, I just either flare way too late or way too early. And for me, like the times that I've done it too early, I just feel like I'm coming in way too hot, and instinctively I'm like, I gotta stop something, and then I do it way too early, and then in turn I just come even faster down, you know. So I think the timing is super. I kind of get in my head about that too. But I think like you have a valid point. If I were to try, you know, it on a trike where I have this thing that I'm sitting in and I maybe would feel a little bit more at ease, that would be a good option.
Well, and the speed wouldn't matter, right? Because you're on wheels. So as long as And from what Anthony's saying, you guys only fly in extremely low wind. So if you're in nil wind and trying to land on your feet, and that's why it feels so fast, you know? I mean, and what I love about my trike option is I live in Florida, which is very hot, like where you live. Yeah. Only there's a lot of humidity where I live, which you don't have as much of. Right. So it's hot, it's humid, the grass is wet, my wing is wet, there's no wind. Well, guess what? I'm pulling out my trike that day.
Got it.
Or if I want to go to the beach and there's high wind, I mean, that's the time that I want to foot launch is the times that you wouldn't be able to trike launch. So it sounds like the type of conditions that you're flying in with nil wind would be perfect for trike, actually.
Trike. Yeah.
And I don't know on your frame if they have like a trike option where it's just like literally my trike is 3 wheels, you know, and the drive shaft and a back axle, and that's it.
I'm not sure if an Adam 80 would be strong enough to push a trike, but if anybody
actually it would be.
It would be.
In the after show, Leandra and I and you guys are going to talk because I have something here that might work.
Oh.
For a loan.
God, I know a guy that has the
Moster. Nicole's right. Is I learned how to foot launch and I went to trike. Actually went to free flight, then I went back to trike. And the timing is everything. The good news though is that once you get that timing down, you've got it. It's just learning that timing that's the hard part.
There was a question in here in the chat for you, Leandra. Someone wants to know when you're coming to El Paso.
Live here.
The same person also said that he says you always come in hot. Oh, wait, it's Anthony. Anthony's in the chat. My bad. That's Anthony.
So ridiculous. I'm here right now in El Paso.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, that would give you definitely an opportunity. And for launching, you're not having to run. You will gain more throttle control so that once you go back to foot launch, you'll actually be able to do a foot drag takeoff.
Oh,
yeah.
Add a
Showing out. Definitely learn how to do that on the trike. So, you know, and it's just, I love mine. I mean, I love foot launching and I love my trike. I mean, but my trike is very sporty. It has very little drag. So that's why I love it. But
Nicole, I have a question for you in regards to all this too. Do you think it might be easier for her to, because when you're sitting in a trike, you're lower to the ground and it might be easier to judge when to flare because you're sitting lower?
That's not helped me personally, but what's going to help her is, especially if she comes in motor on and she just lets herself, like say you have a long space in front of you, there's no cutoff, right? So you just come in, you keep your motor on, and you just keep descending, right? And you just keep coming in at a very slow angle of attack, right? Like just low, 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 and you just barely touch down at the end. And that's going to let you know better than anything else when to flare. So now when you back up and you have less motor, and you just keep taking the motor away and away and away until you can do it with no motor.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And as soon as you do, you know, however many you want to do, 50, you know, 20, however, whatever's going to spark your confidence.
It takes to build that confidence.
Yeah. Whatever sparks that confidence. But as soon as you know, do those and realize that you're not going to hurt yourself or your equipment, it really does help.
Yeah. No, I think that I look forward to the after show conversation if there's ideas kind of coming up. Yeah.
And I can even show you mine and everything, and hopefully
I would love that.
If what Dave has, it won't work, which hopefully it will. I don't know if you're you fly Parajet, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they have a trike option like what PAP does, where it can just snap onto your motor. But I'm sure we can find that out.
I've heard of that, honestly. But I mean, I would never consider myself an expert on what you can do with a regular paramotor. So who knows?
And it sounds like you're really good at kiting. So
I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. I honestly, we just haven't been out there because like it's so hot. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous out here. Today it was like a high of, I don't know, like 104 or something like that. It's hot out here. So in the middle of the day, I mean, there's no way we're there. And then the mornings, you have to like wake up at the crack of dawn. So trike freaking flyer, what happened?
I know.
Oh no, I'm here. I've got some
Oh,
loan
it's I
going
guess
on,
it
so I just
switched
shut
to
my
your
video down.
screen, so I just saw that.
His yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
How many? Did you say how many flights you've made so far?
I have 3. I have 3 flights.
There's 3. We got to
Yeah.
get you back up in the air.
Yeah, we got to get you back up.
I have
Have you continued to kite?
No, it's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah. So I know
That's
that's kind
gonna
of
be
where you got to
important.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be important. And because kiting, controlling the wing is so much more important on trike than it is on, not important. It's harder to do, more technical to accomplish on trike than foot launch because you can't step to the side. You know, like if you're running, you're doing a forward and the wing comes off a little bit, you can just step to the side. Whereas, you know, on a trike, you're going to have to actually be able to manage the wing's energy.
I see.
So
one thing I think is also going to help, and Anthony, you may want to start heading back in here towards the end of the show here. If I don't know if he's still watching in the chat or not. Oh, is he coming? There he is. He's right there.
Heck with that. We'll take Leandra.
Oh, never mind. Go sit down. One thing that so funny.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh, the file.
So shy. So one thing I know that you was said in the Elena podcast is that you guys don't go to any fly-ins.
I know,
and
not yet at least.
You know, and it's it was great to be able to fly with Nicole and Dave and so many other people at Bad Apples and watching technique and learning from them and learning from their mistakes and then learning from mine. But I mean, is there a reason why you guys haven't taken a little travel time to get out and meet other people? Because, you know, just like meeting Elena for you or now meeting Nicole here in this forum, it would be so great for you to meet other ladies, for them to give you advice and watch you and help you learn and give you that confidence that you need.
No, absolutely. I think one of the biggest reasons why we don't, it has to do with like, most of the fly-ins are really far, right? So we'd have to fly, like, for sure. I mean, and then, well, we have 2 little ones, and I think it's just logistically challenging to kind of do it at a moment's notice. And I know those things are planned well in advance, but sometimes they're just like a whole, like, I know Bad Apples, if I'm not mistaken, was like a week long or something like that. And well, I work and the kids were in school. So it's just, it can be kind of tricky like that. But I do want to go to a fly-in, and I think we'll have an opportunity to go sometime soon, just because can I say it?
Oh, yeah. What's in our plan?
Yeah.
Is this a huge announcement we're about to hear?
Oh.
Is this like an exclusive?
It's a baby.
No.
Yeah, baby.
No.
It's a little scooter.
It's actually a camper. We're getting an RV.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
I know. Yeah, we're
Class
super
A
excited.
motorhome.
Yeah, so we're getting it in
Nice.
October. So I think that'll open the door to travel more, especially with the kids, you know. So
good.
Yeah.
You know how Tucker has his van life series. This is Paramotor Home.
Yeah, we're getting a Paramotor home.
Wow.
Yeah,
are you gonna name it Thank You Patreons?
Thank you, Patreon.
Patreon.com/paramotorhome.
No, we're really excited.
So awesome.
I know, we are so excited. We've been like thinking about it for a long time and shopping around, and finally we're committing full commitment to buying a motor home, and we couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, we're gonna lose everything once we stop making.
We're moving
the payments,
into the motor home and losing our home. I'm just kidding. That's not
Remember, it's a risk we're willing to take.
Calculated risk, worth it.
Yeah, two things I'm learning you need with a paramotor. You need to have a camper or motorhome, and you need to have a one wheel. I mean, it's...
right. I don't
Not
have
gonna
a
work.
one wheel, but we did buy that trailer, the cargo trailer, and absolutely love it. So we have not gotten it outfitted yet, but I mean, we took it to Bad Apples and used it in Bad Apples. That was the most expensive hotel that I have ever spent. It was $1,200 a night.
If the walls are rocking, don't come knocking.
2 weeks, 2 days before the fly-in, and just picked it up like the day before the fly-in, just so that we could take it to the fly-in. And we're like, well, we'll fix it later. No, that needs to be insulated. I'm just telling you.
No.
That was miserable during the day, but hopefully,
Yeah.
Nicole had her Nicole's flat screen TV. We used it for the Robert Michaels show when we were all on from Bad Apples during the Ripa show. Ripa's in the chat. What's up, Ripa? Ripa's birthday's coming up in September. I saw during the fly-on. Ripa. We're gonna have to bring some Fireball. All right, that's a whole nother story. I'm sorry. Back to you guys. What's next for Anthony Vella?
What's next for you, baby? Here, I'm gonna give it back to him.
Thanks, Leandra.
It was
tell
nice
her
talking to you guys.
We'll stay for the after show.
Thank you, Nicole. By the way, I'll definitely be messaging you. I really appreciate all the feedback from all of y'all. Thank you.
Absolutely. I know you can't hear me now, but it was great talking to you.
What's next?
Talking to her. What? Can you believe that?
Who was that girl?
Oh no!
She hates next? You. She hates you, man.
She does.
All that whole time, nothing but bad stuff.
I know. I could see it. I could hear. I was actually watching it from my phone 2 feet away. No, but I think she just mentioned it. The plan is definitely the motorhome, and the biggest struggle for us in going places is definitely having the kids. But the motorhome is like comfortable, and I think this is going to open some opportunities for us to actually go, rather than inviting anybody who flies a paramotor into the home. Which, I mean, we do. We really like having people here who are in our community with common interests. But yeah, this is a way I think we can, put some miles on and go and see people.
It's awesome. Yeah. You're going to have to make some trips. I know school gets in the way, but you're going to have to make some trips. Education isn't all that important anymore anyways.
Right.
Yeah, you guys
right.
Homeschool.
That's true. Yeah.
Just saying.
Has it been done? Has anybody done it here? Brave if you have.
I have not.
Homeschool? No. So besides that, any other big plans for Anthony Vella?
Possibly ultralight.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, it's not nearly as easy to take off from a small park in an ultralight. So I've got it pretty made where I'm at and being able to fly over the Franklin Mountains State Park here. Just wild how much open space is. One of the interesting things that Elena Dickerson had noted when she came here was like flying low was something that she just immediately thought was a bad idea when she came here, until she flew here. And she said it made a lot more sense, being that you could land out just about anywhere. You might have to pluck your wing from some bushes, but realistically it's flat ground. You've got the mountains right beside you, but we're not flying over the mountains so much. Almost all of the time, if the motor did go out, you could safely get yourself on the ground without a scratch. Maybe a scratch from a cactus, but that'd be the extent of it.
That is awesome. I want to come fly with you.
Please do.
That option. There's too many trees here.
Yeah, please do. That'd be a lot of fun.
Can I ask you another question? So this whole last year, what's been the most memorable thing for you? With this incredible first year of flying under your belt?
The most memorable thing would be maybe the collapses that I've taken. Like I mentioned, I'm really skittish when it comes to flying. I think I become much more of a passive flyer because of those memories that really stick. And I want to control the flight experience. And I ultimately think the weather is the things that stick with me the most. The times that the weather wasn't very good. And I'm going to hold on to those, thankfully, and always choose when I fly and when I don't.
Good final thoughts.
Yeah.
Good final thoughts. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. We really appreciate it here. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week and the week after and the week after. Man, you do such a great job on your YouTube videos and your podcast. And I know everybody, tuned in tonight just because they really appreciate what you bring to the table, what you bring to our sport and our community. So we want to thank you for that. And of course, as Dave said earlier, thank you very much for the service that you put in. We all appreciate that and never will stop. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So Nicole, thank you. Nicole, next week. So if you haven't subscribed to Phoenix in Flight, please make sure you do now. Ring the bell, hit the bell so that when we go live, you're notified. Same thing for PPG Gorilla. Same thing for Trike Flyer. That's what all 4 YouTubes will host these shows each and every week. Next week, Nicole is hosting Mr. Jeff. What's his last name again there, Anthony? I forgot. Goyne. Jeff Goyne. Yes.
Like coin. Like Goyne.
Jeff Goyne. And I will say this, one of my favorite paramotor podcasts. Oh, there was one other thing we didn't mention, did we? We'll have to get to this here too. There's something for you to explain. One of my favorite podcasts was Jeff Goyne explaining airspace. That was awesome. But I wanted to know, let's see if I can still have it. I think I lost it. Oh, I lost the picture. Darn it. I don't have it up anymore. Oh, well. I was going to show the picture of this black and white picture. So where can they find that black and white picture, Anthony? Do you have it accessible right there?
It may be available as a shirt if somebody wants to support. But that's the intent of the artwork.
So Anthony's got this picture up where he's it's a black and white stencil, if you will, shooting down bad guys or something from his paramotor. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's like the worst image you can imagine as far as like these pests of paramotors terrorizing a city, which we obviously don't fly over. But the idea came from it originated as the old War of the Worlds, when there were these aliens that were shooting lasers and it was causing chaos. And there's some interesting ideas for paramotor designs, but they'll come out.
Awesome. So I want to, and there's Trike Flyer, Dave Ruff. Thank you, Dave. We're going to go to the after show. And like I said, Patreons, we're going to record this so that you'll be able to see this after show. If it was anything like the pre-show, it's going to be very, very fun. Got to find out what happened to Mr. Gorilla. Hope he's okay. But Anthony, thanks again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Our Paramotor Nation. Stay safe up there, fly safe, and thanks for showing up, watching. Have a good night, everybody.